This is actually a hard one because when I got out of school and went into a PR agency, I didn't know what public relations was. I thought that I knew, but what I learned is that public relations encompasses a little bit of the other forms of integrated marketing communications. Sometimes in PR you may use a little bit of advertising, you may use a little bit of direct, you may be using the social media. But ultimately, public relations is the process of evaluating how to do the best thing for your audience and for your company at the same time. And it might be a program that draws attention to what you're doing on behalf of them. You know, like for agriculture, we're doing this for all of ag. We're making sure you're aware of it and making sure the customer knows. Or it may be something more simplistic. It may be, hey, let's do a program that somebody's going to win a trip to Alaska, you know, and go on a cruise. But ultimately, I think public relations is finding that button that the consumer has, that our consumer has, whatever, whether it's a farmer. I'm not talking about the eating consumer, I'm talking about whoever it is that we're trying to sell to. What is their button that they need answered or tickled or scratched or whatever, and still accomplish our goal? So ultimately it's serving the needs of both. It's not intruding on their life, making them accept something they don't. It's not building a relationship for no reason whatsoever. It's helping them figure out what they need and making sure you provide it, while at the same time serving your client.
Well, you know, there's the formal definition of public relations, which is getting your message to the stakeholders to protect or enhance the reputation of a business. But I'm going to go back to what I said a little while ago. For me, public relations is, and maybe it's my journalism background, is storytelling. You want to get your story out. And, you know, what makes a story interesting is, you know, the characters that participate, the impact they have on community. There's an emotional human factor. And so for me, public relations is just that. And there's the public part, which is what we talked about, getting your information out, and the relations part. And so what we do on the relations part is advocating on behalf of our clients so that on a continual basis they are communicating with stakeholders, they are meeting new audiences, and also when you really need it, you've got those relationships already developed with media so that when there's a big story, they use you as an expert, builds your credibility, or when there's a crisis, they trust that what you're telling them is the truth because they know they've worked with you in the past. So the relations part of public relations, I think, is one of the most critical things that anybody in any industry needs to pay attention to.
Public relations is especially important for agriculture. Agriculture has an audience out there that knows so little about it. Even though when we talk to ourselves, we think that the world is on our side. You know, if we talk to another farmer, if we talk to someone who's selling to farmers, we're all about advocacy, right? All about spreading the word of agriculture. But in reality, when you listen to what people are saying about their fear of a Monsanto or their fear of GMOs or whatever, they're not following facts. So we have to retain a visibility and help the consumer understand the difference between facts and fiction, between facts and emotion. Because when it comes down to it, you and I always react on emotion probably, even if we can evaluate the facts back there, but emotion is still what drives our actions. So if a consumer is going to choose not to buy something because they're afraid, that's going to impact their buying behavior. So we have to be able to keep them apprised of how agriculture reality is different than their perception.
I've had great experiences working with agriculture and public relations, and in particular, it's what we call storytelling. For us, that's what public relations is. It's getting that story out the way you'd like it to be told, but also it's not just telling that story, it's getting people to listen. In agriculture, it's probably more important than ever to pay attention to how that story is being told. And here's why. There's a huge information gap between what the public knows about what it takes to get, as we call, from the farm to the fork, or, you know, as you're producing new products and energy. So it's really important that you talk about the environmental practices, the food safety practices, you know, the family story, the economic story. There's a huge information gap that consumers don't understand yet. If you think about it, all of the things that agriculture produces is a very personal thing. It's what I eat, it's what I feed my kids. And, you know, health and nutrition and safety is, if you look at surveys, it's one of the most important things that people are paying attention to today. And there's nothing more personal than dinner time or lunchtime or what you're putting in your kids' breakfast.
I think creating a good PR firm starts with a plan. So many people start as a freelancer and then just kind of evolve into having something more. But if you look around the industry, you'll see that those who really made a success out of it are the ones who actually started with a business plan, just like they teach you in business school. And you need to know who your target audience is, and ultimately you need to know what's different that you can offer versus what the others can offer, because that's what it's going to come down to, is how can you sell yourself. I think it's vision. You need to be able, as a PR firm, if you want to be set apart from all the others, you need to be able to offer an array of services, but you also need to know what you're good at. You don't need to pretend to be good at something that you really just have a smattering of knowledge in. You need to be willing to say, I'm not the expert there, let's pull in the right person. And if you are able to do that and you know a little bit about all of it, but you retain the knowledge of what you're really good at, and you can tell the client, this is how we can excel for you versus what someone else might be able to do for you, then I think that's when you can walk away with the business.